Good morning and welcome to the Morning Blend Extra. Today is Friday, July 18th. I'm Jake Pearson. Coming up on our show today, we have some grilling safety, some expensive rocks, and mid-year tax planning. But first, let's take a look at our weather forecast out there. Taking a look, we've got a high of 80 degrees and about a 50% chance for some storms here later on tonight. I know that we're seeing the return of some 80-degree temperatures after some 70-degree temperatures the last couple of days. Still not terrible, but stepping into our Saturday, you can see that first alert there on our Saturday for some 60% chance for some storms, 82 degrees for our high. Moving into Sunday, we're going to be cooling off a little bit more, high of 78. Again, 20% chances for some storms. Moving on into Monday and Tuesday, though, we're increasing those storm chances a little bit more, high of 40 there on, or excuse me, a 40% chance of some storms on Monday and a 30% on Tuesday, a high of 82, and then you can see that warm up as we go into the later stages of next week. 87 degrees for our high on Tuesday, and then take a look at that, 92 for our high, but you can see that heat index value on Wednesday, 105 degrees. So we've got that hazy, hot and humid, that Triple H there for you, and then we go on into Thursday, with a high of 88 degrees. Taking a live look out there at our primetime audio video East State Street cam, we can see a little bit of cloud cover there. Certainly a far cry from what we had here yesterday. Man, it was a little gloomy out there yesterday, but nice to see a little bit more of that sunshine, a little bit more of that heat. I know that there's a lot of people out there who were actually feeling a little bit of fall-like weather out yesterday, especially earlier in the morning. Turning back to our headlines here today, it's grilling season, as you already know, but as you throw that meat or some veggies onto the grill, safety experts are urging you to be careful. Grilling can quickly turn dangerous, causing more injuries than you may think. Mandy Gaither explains why grilling safety is a must.
It's popular, especially this time of year. Grilling is a great way to cook a variety of foods, but it can also be dangerous. In 2022, an estimated 5,400 people were sent to emergency rooms for gas or charcoal grill-related injuries. It can also pose a risk of fire and carbon monoxide poisoning and causes 13 average yearly deaths, according to the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission.
Grills are one of the most common accidents we see during the summer months.
Dr. Anna Palmameta with the Burn Center at Brigham and Women's Hospital says July is the peak month for grilling-related injuries. She says she sees everything from minor burns to major ones.
People are mishandling the propane tank or pouring gasoline or lighter fluid directly into the grill, and they sort of have this back force of flame and fires.
Safety experts say only use grills outside in well-ventilated areas. Never use them indoors in a garage, breezeway, carport, porch, or under a surface that can burn. And check the grill and the gas hoses before use, searching for cracking, brittleness, holes, and leaks, and replace if necessary. And never leave a hot grill unattended. Keep children away. Meta says she's had to treat little ones too.
Sometimes, they just kind of put their hands on the grill, burn their hands, different body parts.
Finally, clean your grill to prevent grease buildup, which can be a fire hazard as well. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
And a meteorite known as the largest piece of Mars on Earth sold for, listen to this, $5.3 million at auction on Wednesday. Holy cow, who would have thought that something like that could happen? The 54-pound meteorite called NWA 16788 is one of 400 Martian meteorites ever found here on Earth. Sotheby's auction house says the rock size is what makes it so unique and also what caught it that big price tag, as most Martian meteorites found are just smaller fragments. Composition analysis reveals that rock was most likely blasted into space off of Mars' surface due to asteroid impact. Holy cow. That impact was so powerful that parts of the rock actually turned into glass. Some believe that this meteorite belongs in a museum, while others say an auction sale like this can drive discovery and scientific interest.
It's incredible that it made it through and then that it crashed in the middle of the desert instead of the middle of the ocean in a place where we could find it, and that somebody who could recognize what it was found it. So there's a whole kind of process or a layer of things that have to happen in order for this to become reality and be here in front of us.
I feel like I'd have to err on the side of the museum section in there. I don't mean to sound too much like Indiana Jones, but I mean a giant meteorite like that can go for that much money on the market. I mean, that just feels like it's a scientific breakthrough right there. I feel like that'd be something pretty cool to see in a museum. Turning back to our stories now, the Iowa State Fair kicks off next month in Des Moines, and with it comes some new flavors. Holy cow, if you guys aren't hungry now, get ready. Tuesday, the Iowa State Fair released the top contenders for the fair's best new foods. Those include a bacon chicken ranch egg roll, a scotcheroo shake, and a ham ball dish called Three Little Pigs. Fairgoers will vote for their favorite among the 3 finalists, and the fair runs from August 7th through the 17th. Man, oh man, just looking at those foods making me super hungry. Coming up, we will discuss some significant changes to our tax code that will impact many American taxpayers starting this year. Stick with us, we'll be right back.
You're a mom, but you're also a cook, a chauffeur, and a maid, too. You're on demand, so your news should be on demand, too.
That's where WIFR steps in. Whether you catch us live or catch up with the day's events, you can get your news from WIFR on your time. From WIFR.com, the WIFR News app, or the WIFR streaming app. It's video from the news team that's putting you first. WIFR. At WIFR, we want to know, does your pet have an entertaining personality? What about their unusual features? Do they have an iconic sense of fashion? Why not give them the spotlight they deserve with WIFR Pet Picks? Scan the QR code or go to WIFR.com. Click on See It, Send It, and upload your pet's picture or video. They could even be featured on WIFR News at 6. WIFR Pet Picks, sponsored by First Staffing.
At Gray Digital Media, we craft engaging campaigns that grab attention and get results. Extending your message across all platforms. Gray Digital Media. We know local. GDMRockford.com. When you want to know right now, predict, or catch up on the stories you missed, download video of your local news on the WIFR News app. Live breaking news.
We have reports of multiple shots fired.
Real-time forecasts.
We are tracking some rain potential for tomorrow.
Custom alerts for the stories that impact you. It's fast and, best of all, free. The WIFR News app, where the news and video you want are all in one app.
Your local experts.
Personally invested in your safety.
Your most experienced weather team.
Giving you the first alert to prepare for the worst.
WIFR, putting you first.
Welcome back to the Morning Blend Extra. As you can see, I'm not alone here at the desk anymore. We're joined by Nate Brybe, an investment advisor representative with Klaas Financial. Nate, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's starting things off here. You know, we were talking about those tax brackets right before we went to break. So one of the first things that people kind of want to know about here are those tax brackets. So can you kind of confirm the status of those for this year?
Yes, yeah. So this all starts with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was introduced in 2017. Now that act introduced some newer lower brackets, the 12%, the 22%, and 24%, and so on. Those brackets are actually set to expire the end of this year. Now comes the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that was just recently passed that actually permanently extended those lower tax brackets. Now this is a big deal because otherwise those brackets are set to increase about 2 to 4%.
Gotcha.
Depending on this bracket.
All right, yeah, and obviously a lot of moving parts there kind of with the big beautiful bill and everything, but we'll kind of see if we can break into that here as we go on throughout the rest of our conversation. But another big topic of discussion has been the SALT cap. Now that being said, I'm sort of curious what if too many people really know what SALT cap is, state and local taxes, but could you kind of talk a little bit about what that is and then kind of what's changing there?
Sure, exactly, yeah. So it's a good point to clarify. So SALT cap means state and local taxes, like you said. So mainly for us in Illinois, that would be state income taxes and then property taxes, which would be a bad word around here. So normally, you would, in 2024, you have to itemize your taxes to get this deduction, okay? And that was capped at $10,000.
Yes.
To get this bill passed, they actually had to, appease some moderate Republicans to get this passed to increase it to $40,000. So that is increased to $40,000 for 2025 through 2029. Okay,
Gotcha.
Now, like all these have a phase-out range, meaning if your income's too high, that cap can actually come down. Now, it is fairly high for single and married family joint couples. It's $500,000 of AGI, so fairly sizable income there to still get that 40,000, which is, a good thing.
Gotcha.
There.
And you mentioned it was 10,000 beforehand?
It was.
Holy cow, yeah, that is quite an increase there.
Yep.
And then, what kind of about deductions for our older Americans here? Are there sort of any new provisions for them?
There are, and maybe not the one that most were hoping to have. So
Right.
one of the campaign promises of the current administration was no tax on Social Security. Unfortunately, that did not get included in this bill, so that was important to understand. What did get included was an additional senior tax deduction of for those 65 plus of up to $6,000 per individual. Okay, so now this is on top of a standard deduction already of $31,500 and an already included $3,200 deduction. So we're gonna add up three numbers here. You ready, Jake?
Yes,
okay,
yes,
so
I'm ready.
$31,500.
$31,500.
Standard deduction for a married filing joint couple in 2025. $3,200
Okay.
was the normal
Yes.
senior tax deduction plus potentially $12,000. That should be $46,700 starting in 2025.
Gotcha.
Once again, expanding through 2029. So those deductions are available without itemizing your taxes,
Right.
so your deductions. So that is a difference for the senior tax deduction versus like a state and local tax deduction. Okay, so a little bit of clarification there. And once again, good through 2025 through 2029, subject to some phase-out ranges again.
Yeah, and then of course, obviously we're kind of talking about this big, beautiful bill here. Another thing that I know was a kind of a big point that was pushed here in this bill was, tax on tips and overtime. So kind of what are the changes that's really going on with that, and sort of how are those things going to be taxed moving forward?
Sure, yep, and these were implemented. So those were obviously on the campaign trail as well. So how it lands now is $25,000 of tips are deductible for individuals, okay? Once again, subject to phase-out ranges, but obviously a great benefit for those in service industries.
Right.
So now it is unique. Like you have to be in a trade or position that is accustomed to receiving tips.
Right,
okay,
right.
so I can't tip you and you deduct
Yes,
that. It's
right.
like, well, that's your
Right, we're talking like
waitress.
servers or
Yes.
like an Uber driver or
exactly.
something along those
something
lines.
like that. Okay, and then the other one would be overtime wages. Once again, a position accustomed to receiving overtime hours.
Correct.
Okay, and that is $12,500 per individual. That is the deduction from income.
Gotcha. All right, very interesting there. And then finally, kind of wrapping things up here, a piece of legislation that has also kind of garnered a lot of attention is the Social Security Fairness Act. We kind of talked a little bit earlier about this, but can you kind of briefly explain kind of what this entails and how it's going to really impact us here?
Yep, so this was back in January, okay, that this act was implemented. And it kind of came out of nowhere, truly. We were kind of following it, and then all of a sudden it got through and passed, okay, under the previous administration. And how this was now, there are two provisions that were removed, which were namely the government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision. And what those did for residents of Illinois, maybe that are covered by TRS, the teacher's pension, or SERS, a state employee, those individuals historically did not pay into Social Security, okay? So they are deemed to be covered by a non-covered pension. And say that individual worked, at a covered position, like at a grocery store when they were younger or something, had some wages that did pay into Social Security, they would get their Social Security statement and say, Nate, you're eligible for $1,500 a month.
Right.
But in fact, those two provisions actually applied, and it reduced that benefit. So those provisions got removed, and now, long story short, what you see on your statement is what you could be eligible for in your Social Security statement. Now, this applies to not only your own earnings record, but also your spouse's record.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Interesting.
Or a survivor benefit if unfortunately you've lost a spouse.
Yeah.
Okay. So very important. If you think you may be eligible, call Social Security and reference what's called the Fairness Act. They know exactly what that is. Obviously, that's their program, and they'll be able to determine if you're eligible for a benefit, an increased benefit, which is pretty cool. Now, one last thing on this. It is actually retroactive back to January of 24.
Interesting.
So we've had clients actually get lump sum checks of $15,000 to $25,000 just for making a phone call. And it's always a phone call, and I get like, that's probably worth your call, Daddy, wasn't it?
Not bad.
So it's kind of a fun thing to do on a Thursday, I guess. But so
yeah,
a Friday.
absolutely. And obviously, you guys are available to help community members through this. So, of course, you guys can head to Klaas Financial out there at 4704 Perry Ridge Lane over there in Loves Park.
Yes,
and, of course, you can give them a call at 815-877-8440, or you can visit their website on screen at klaasfinancial.com. Nate, thank you so much again for coming on to the show. I know that there's a lot of confusing questions kind of pertaining to what's the future in the tax kind of world. So,
absolutely.
All right, thank you so much again, Nate. And coming up next, we'll see some familiar tiny blue faces in theaters this weekend. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
At Gray Digital Media, we craft engaging campaigns that grab attention and get results. Extending your message across all platforms. Gray Digital Media. We know local. GDMRockford.com. When you want to know right now, predict, or catch up on the stories you missed, download video of your local news on the WIFR News app. Live breaking news,
We have reports of multiple shots fired.
real-time forecasts,
We are tracking some rain potential for tomorrow.
custom alerts for the stories that impact you. It's fast and, best of all, free. The WIFR News app, where the news and video you want are all in one app.
Your local experts.
Personally invested in your safety,
Your most experienced weather team.
giving you the first alert to prepare for the worst.
WIFR, putting you first.
Welcome back to the Morning Blend Extra. The summer box office usually means big. This year it's superheroes, dinosaurs, and race cars. But the big film opening this weekend centers on some beloved small creatures. David Daniel looks at the new Smurfs movie coming your way.
Isn't it grand living in a place where nothing ever goes wrong?
Oh no, something's wrong!
Papa Smurf must be rescued after he's kidnapped by evil wizards in Smurfs.
I like to cut loose and let them bring me down to where I'm supposed to be, what's palatable for them, or I'll just wind up bouncing all over the room.
Let me guess, Papa Smurf's in trouble. We're storming Razamel's castle, and we take no prisoners. Except for Papa, we'll make sure and grab him. It's really fun to be unfettered by reality. So, like John said, you can totally cut loose. You can, in the middle of your line, say, "Yeah, who let this monkey in here?" Like, you know, and it's fun then trying to entertain, you know, the administration.
Yeah, it's nice to get feedback from the booth when they're laughing.
Let's go Smurf that wizard up.
Oh, yeah.
The voice cast also includes Rihanna, Octavia Spencer, Sandra Oh, and some surprises.
You might get to the credits and not know that a lot of these people did these voices. I think some of them really, pull out some funky voices for this one.
We're going to play a game called Let's Squish a Smurf Till All You Smurfs Are Squashed. That doesn't sound like a fun game.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Looks like a fun one there. Maybe bring the grandkids out. Maybe a fun little Saturday morning movie. I know for me, I'm pretty excited. I think I Know What You Did Last Summer. I suppose it's the sequel of some kind is coming out this weekend also. But hey, that's going to wrap up the Morning Blend Extra for today. Thank you